right, everyone. Welcome to the show. Hope y'all are doing good on this Tuesday, and thank you so much for taking time out of your day and tuning in here on the Tennessee Brando Show. It's always good to be with you, and it's always good to see people in the comment section before we get rolling. It's good to see people in the waiting room, so thank y'all for being here. I saw a funny conversation going on. Someone was talking about how that they were born in 79, and someone else thought that they were saying I was 79. And no, I'm not quite there yet, but I know that I definitely look older than my 40s. I'll own that. It was years of hard living. I earned every gray hair. I stopped. I did attempt to dye my hair. I'm going to tell a funny story before we get this show rolling. I did attempt to dye my hair a couple of times, and I never could get it to look natural. Every time I tried it, I ended up looking like that guy Billy Mays that used to be, on the commercials, screaming and yelling at 3 o'clock in the morning and keeping you awake. That guy, it just always looked painted on. And one of the last times that I did it, my ex-wife literally laughed out loud at me, fell over on the floor laughing at how bad it looked. And so pretty much shaved my beard and my head and grew it back the way that it come in. And I tell people I earned them all. So again, thank y'all for being here. And thank you to those of you who are listening on Spotify after the fact. I do have the audio versions of these shows. They come out now on Spotify right after we do them here. And so thank y'all for listening to the audio. I had a whole lot of people saying to me, Brando, I don't get a chance to tune in live. But I do have commutes back and forth to work and would love to be able to listen to you. So we threw that out there, and we're going to be getting it up on the other platforms pretty soon. So y'all stay tuned for that. So today's topic is, well, what really inspired the title for this video was Trump's response to saying that he wants to reopen Alcatraz, and then people asking him about that and him trying to explain it. And I said, this dude is either seriously slipping really bad or he's lying, and he's probably doing both. And so I'm going to read you this article here from Midas News. And before I do, I want to say this. I think that more times we ought to read Trump's words as opposed to playing clips. I don't play as many clips as I used to since the election. I don't like playing them. I will sometimes when I'm trying to catch him in his lies or catch him in his hypocrisy. But I think I'm just going to start reading the transcripts because when you read what Donald Trump says out loud, you realize just how batshit insane that it does sound. And so a lot of you are probably saying, what are you talking about, Brando? Well, he actually says that he wants to reopen Alcatraz. Apparently he watched some movie or some shit and then got it in his mind that he could reopen Alcatraz, which is now a federal park and a museum, and it's not even, set up to house anyone. Hasn't been in years. But I don't know what the hell he's actually thinking here. But again, he's either slipping or he's lying, or more than likely both. So I'm going to bring this article up right here. Trump gives incoherent explanation on opening Alcatraz. It really seems like Trump wants to open Alcatraz because of old movies. This is by Troy Matthews from Midas Touch Network. So Donald Trump continues to show signs of cognitive decline on Monday at a press conference from the Oval Office. A bizarre word salad answer on why he wants the notorious federal prison, Alcatraz, reopened. Trump seemed to suggest it was his nostalgia for old movies that led him to push for reopening the prison, which has been closed for 61 years. Now, this is him talking, okay? This is Donald Trump. When he was asked, about why he would want to reopen it, he said, well, I guess I was supposed to be a movie maker. We started with the movie making, and it will end. It represents something very strong, very powerful in terms of law and order. Our country needs law and order. Alcatraz is, I would say, the ultimate, right? Alcatraz, Sing Sing, and Alcatraz, the movies. Folks, that's a leader of the free world. And to anyone out there who listens to him and hangs on every word and thinks, oh man, he's really, speaking and telling it like it is, this guy is clearly off of his rocker. And when you read it, like I said, when you read what he said, read the transcripts to his speeches, they hit completely different. And I just think we should read them from here on out. I think that's how all reporting should really be when it comes to this. But Trump has said he wants to use the island to once again house the worst prisoners in the country as it did at the height of its notoriety. And here's some more of his verbal diarrhea. But it's right now a museum, believe it or not. A lot of people go there. It housed the most violent criminals in the world, and nobody ever escaped. One person almost got there, but they, as you know, the story, they found his clothing rather badly ripped up, and it was a lot of shark bites, a lot of problems, Trump said, seeming to reference the Clint Eastwood movie Escape from Alcatraz. Now, I didn't go to Alcatraz. I have visited the Bay Area a couple of times, and me and some friends almost went on the tour. Now I kind of wish we had have. But one of the reasons why that we didn't is because we were told that in order to do so, it takes up so much of your day because you have to go over there and you have to, get a boat. First of all, you're going to have to float over to it. There's going to be a scheduled time that's going to happen, that you're going to get picked up. They're going to have enough people to take over there. And then by the time you get there, you go through the tour, you eat and do all the stuff you do, and then you come up, float back, so to speak. It could end up taking away hours of your day. And at the time, I was sightseeing and wanting to see more places. And a friend of mine said, well, here's the options we have, Brando. You can either go to Alcatraz, which is going to take 4 or 5 hours. You can see that. Or you can spend 4 or 5 hours just looking around San Francisco and seeing a lot of different stuff. So I said, let's just do the other and just look around and see a bunch of other stuff. So I didn't actually go. But I kind of do wish now that I had and I still may. But so then he goes on to say, it sort of represents something that's both horrible and beautiful and strong and miserable, weak. It's got a lot of qualities that are interesting. That's his words, folks. That is the leader. That's the president of the United States saying that out loud, and he has an audience that thinks he's the smartest guy in the room. So the article goes on to say Alcatraz Island, which is a giant boulder in the middle of the San Francisco Bay, has no access to running water, nor is it connected to a power grid. The prison was shut down in 1963 because of the enormous cost to house just over 300 prisoners. While the prison was operational, everything from water and food to staff and supplies had to be boated in and out of the island from San Francisco daily. The island relies on diesel generators for power. Some portions of the prison complex haven't been maintained since the 1930s. The cost to basically rebuild the cell house alone would be massive. Not the best example of government efficiency, and that's that's definitely the case. No, it's not. Neither is the ridiculous military parade that he wants to have, and all of the other flexes that he wants to do. None of those things are government efficiency, and this is one of the stupidest things that he said yet, but none of us should be shocked. What should happen, though, is that Democrats, progressives, liberals, whatever you want to call people on our side of the aisle, people like us needs to really go even harder in the paint on this guy and not let him off the hook with this crap and read his words out loud. Let people hear just how stupid he really sounds when you do read it out loud. And lean in and go hard in the paint on him, because he absolutely would do the same thing to you. For years, we heard them criticize Joe Biden and his, cognitive decline. And every time Joe Biden had a stutter, every time Joe Biden paused before he answered a question, every time that he talked softly, every time that he forgot what he was going to say, the media pounced on that. He had a really bad debate performance against Donald Trump. I'm not going to sit here and sugarcoat that one. That was awful. We all condoned it, or not condoned it. We all admitted it and said we can't, defend this. It was terrible. We all admitted that. But Joe Biden, every word that he ever said was held under a microscope and criticized. And I always said this: I will wait for Joe Biden to gather his thoughts. I realize he's not the same guy that debated Paul Ryan all those years ago. I will wait on him to gather his thoughts. But what this guy over here, Trump, is saying is absolute batshit insanity. This guy is over here apologizing to domestic terrorists and bringing them to Mar-a-Lago. This guy is just saying he wants to be dictator on day one. I went through all the giant red flags that would be there. And I just thought that Joe Biden's stutter was not the biggest worry that we had in this world. But they would absolutely be going after Joe Biden if he'd have said these things and if it had sounded that crazy when he said it. And this is crazy what Trump's saying, so I think we should go at it. And when I say that, I don't mean make fun of dementia the way they did. I don't mean mock dementia patients the way they did. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm just simply saying call him out and say, this isn't normal. Speaking like this is not normal. He sounds like your drunk uncle at the end of the bar. It's pathetic. And also, he's just straight up lying. He sat there in that interview with NBC and he talked about gas prices, saying how they were $1.98 in many states, even went so far as to say $1.88 in some states. And these people that call themselves journalists will end up saying, well, okay, Mr. President, let's just move on then. Let's just move on, or let's agree to disagree. No, you don't do that. This guy has accused you of being fake news for all these years. That's been his main message is, you're fake news. Okay, well, then you point out to him, no, sir, we're not fake news. What you're saying has been debunked. What you're saying is not true. What you're saying, there's no evidence for, and we have the evidence, the facts, the receipts right here to show that you're lying. And they need to go harder in the paint. And I understand why they don't. They don't because they're afraid of lawsuits. They're afraid of potentially going to jail. But they should also be talking about that more. You should hear them talking more about that. They need to stand up for independent media. They need to stand up for each other because, there even talks about him potentially pulling CBS's broadcasting license. A clear assault on free speech. But you can't just sit back and let this dude do all these things and keep letting him off the hook and giving him a pass and bowing the knee to him. That's not the way that we're ever going to move forward. And people don't respect anyone that doesn't fight back. I mean, if you just lay back on the ropes and let somebody, set and pummel you, you better be Muhammad Ali and you better have a game plan. Because otherwise, people are just going to look at you and say, why aren't you fighting? Why aren't you doing anything about this? People will react. I've said this so many times. People will react if you lay it in and give it back to them. And Donald Trump is giving us so much low-hanging fruit to throw back and say, hey, look, this guy is not right. The things he's saying is not right. And challenge them. Say to them, hey, bring the evidence. Show us where gas is $1.98 and prove it. It's one of those things that they've already been brainwashed into believing that facts are fake news and that science is fake news and that evidence is fake news. So they're always going to be a hard group of people to combat, but that doesn't mean that you bow down and roll over and let them do it. That's all I'm saying. So, yeah, folks, we're going to be in for this for the long haul with Trump. It's not going to be an easy thing to move past. I think the damage that Donald Trump has done to this country is going to be something that's going to take years, and we may not see it in our lifetime. We may not see by the time I'm really 79. We may not see it because what Donald Trump did was he handed the microphone off to stupid people, and he empowered stupid people, and he empowered conspiracy theorists, and he empowered people who never wanted to face the music. I always said that John McCain. And he wasn't a guy that I would ever vote for. I didn't vote for him when he was alive, and I wouldn't vote for him if he was back here again today. I'm not a fan of John McCain, but he did take the microphone away from the woman who tried to say that Barack Obama was a Muslim and that he wasn't born in the country. He did take the microphone away from her and say, no, ma'am, that's not true. He's just someone who I have political disagreements with, and I can respect him for doing that. Donald Trump amplified that woman's microphone. And not only did he amplify her microphone, but then he said to any of us who said, hey, that's not true, he said that we were fake news and he demonized us. And so I don't know if there's any putting the toothpaste back in the tube, but we will continue to work and try to do so. So again, I want to thank everybody here for tuning in on the Tennessee Brando Show on this Tuesday. Hope everyone is having a good Tuesday. Want to remind everyone that after the show goes off here at 12:30, I go live on Patreon at 12:45. We do Backstage with Brando, where I just sit around and shoot the breeze with the audience. and take questions or just talk about whatever we got going on. Or I may play a new song I wrote that day or recently or whatever. Haven't really wrote any new songs as of late, but I have been working on new music. And I'm actually going to be going out in public and playing a live show. That'll be this Saturday at the Festival, which is taking place in South Knoxville. Um, I'm looking forward to that one. We're going to be playing for an hour and a half, and I've been working on the set and getting it ready to go and knocking the dust off. It's been a long time since I played live. I don't really play live anymore because where honestly would you play my act in East Tennessee? Uh, but I think there are people that are like-minded, and there's people that host events that are like-minded, and so when they reach out and connect and invite me on, I'll come on, I'll do my thing, and we look forward to it. So it'll be 3:30 p.m. I'm playing 3:30 to 5 in South Knoxville at the festival. So I'm looking forward to doing that. And actually in talks with a couple of other places about potentially doing some live music. So maybe the curse is starting to break. Maybe the ban is starting to be lifted. I don't know. Maybe we'll end up getting back in the saddle. But I said this from day one, and I meant it. I felt like that these subjects we're talking about and our democracy was worth more than anyone hearing me sing a cover of the Eagles again. So I'm not complaining. I wouldn't change a thing, and I'm glad that we're here, and I'm glad we're talking about the issues at hand. And I wake up every day, and I do this 7 days a week. It's something that I never take a break from. I will try sometimes to get a couple of videos ahead and put them out and kind of take the rest of the day to get off or unwind or whatever I have to do. But it's just it's it's a challenge, and I tell people all the time to take care of your mental health. And I tell people YouTubers aren't necessarily supposed to say this. We're supposed to always be encouraging people to tune in and hang in there. But I always say do so. But then if you need to take a break and need to pull back and take a few days away from it and decompress and get your mind off things, do so. And when you come back, you don't have to back up and try to relive every video I made. I've had so many friends say, I need to get caught up on your videos, Brando. I'm like, don't do that to yourself. We're doing good here on the channel. We're growing rapidly. We're headed now toward 800,000 subscribers, and I thank y'all for that. So we've done really well. Our videos are doing good. You don't have to go back and dig through a couple of days worth of videos if you're coming back from a break. Just pick up where you left off and keep rolling with it, and keep standing up and fighting for democracy. Keep encouraging people to get out there and vote. Keep encouraging people to speak out and speak up. I know a lot of people right now are scared too, and I understand why. We definitely are living under an authoritarian regime like we've never lived under before. And the threats are absolutely real when you see them, locking up judges and coming after journalists and sending people away without due process. I mean, we're living in a very North Korean nightmare at the moment. So I understand why people gets upset and would prefer not to speak out or are in a position where you can't. I run into people all the time out at the protest. And I'll say to them, hey, you want to come on camera and be on a video with me, and we'll talk about this, and they'll pull back and they'll say no because they don't want to be on camera because they don't want to risk losing their job or being doxxed or being called out by these people. So I get it, and I always tell them, okay, well, you can stand here and we can talk about things. You can tell me your story, and I don't have to mention your names, but your story will work their way into my videos, and we'll raise awareness on the things that are going on. So there's other ways of going about it. I'm not saying that everybody has to create a YouTube channel or everybody has to be a content creator. I'm not saying those things. But you can pass the videos along, share them with people privately, let people know what we're talking about, and let people know about the issues that we're trying to raise awareness on. And just keep pushing forward, folks. That's all we can do. We are living in some very uncertain times, and I understand that everyone has their feelings on it. I understand it's very easily to, get distracted by all the bullshit that's out there. That is by design, by the way. They're absolutely wanting to muddy the water and create as much chaos as they can and flood the zone as hard as they possibly can. They want to do that to keep people like us distracted, and also they think eventually they'll just beat us into submission. I have noticed a few of my favorite content creators that were really, really going at it strong. Before the election, I've noticed several of them kind of back away and some disappear, and I've went and looked at their pages and they've not posted videos in a couple of months, and I haven't really reached out to ask why, but I said to myself, well, I get it. I mean, it's easy to feel as though you're being beat into submission by these people. But I refuse to be beat into submission by people that's on the wrong side of history. And I refuse to let racist, homophobic, bigoted, transphobic assholes push me around and make me scared. And I refuse to back down to an authoritarian style of leader who doesn't believe in due process and who, by the way, said that he didn't know if he should uphold the Constitution. He didn't know if he was supposed to do that. He had lawyers he would talk to about that. He's got people working on that. All of these things, not to pull the what if card, but all of these things are things that had Joe Biden said it, MAGA's heads would have exploded. And here we are. They just always let this guy off the hook for saying, I don't know if I should uphold the Constitution or not. When he said that, I wasn't shocked because he didn't put his hand on the Bible at the inauguration. Not that I believe in it, but he didn't put his hand on it. And also said he would terminate it anytime he seen fit. So why would he put his hand on it? That's my whole argument. I wasn't shocked when people say, hey, look, he didn't put his hand on the Bible. Well, he said he wasn't going to follow it. If you was listening to him on the campaign trail, he said he was going to be dictator on day one. So there was no point where he said he was going to respect the rule of law. He doesn't. So I just refuse to back down from people like that. Just because someone is loud doesn't mean they're on the right side of history. Sometimes authoritarian regimes were ruled by a very loud minority. And when they say half the country voted for Trump, that ain't true. Half the country didn't vote for him. There's a group of people out there that showed up and did, and there's a whole lot of people that stayed home on election day. And maybe once this administration really takes them to task, and once they really suffer the consequences of it, maybe they'll wake up and realize that, hey, elections are important and everybody needs to get your voter IDs in order and get them straight, get all your information correct. I'm going to be doing videos in the future talking more on that subject because that's something that we all need to deep dive in on and understand what we're up against, because when someone like Marjorie Taylor Greene says that we got to secure our elections, she basically means we got to suppress as many votes as we possibly can, and we got to keep as many people away from the polls as we possibly can. So I am going to be doing videos where we're going to be talking more about how to make sure that all of your info is up to date and what to do, how to go about getting that all corrected and be ready to vote when the time comes. And just encourage people to vote. I think that our democracy is absolutely threatened like never before, but I do believe that we can and we will come back from this. I think that we can survive. It's just going to take a lot of hard work, and it's going to take not backing down. And I say that all the time. But it's the truth, folks. Backing down is not an option. Laying down is not an option. Shutting up and being silent isn't an option. Rolling over and playing dead isn't an option. Sorry, James Carville. I loved you back in the 90s. But that's not what we can't go there now. We really can't. And, to people on our side of the aisle, from the old guard to the people in the middle of the road to the young people coming up, I just say, listen to everybody and what they have to say. Understand that we all want the same thing at the end of the day. I watched a very good conversation between David Hogg and James Carville. You got I'm not exactly sure how old David Hogg is, but he's a young dude that's in part of the DNC, and he's arguing with James Carville, who I think's 80. And they went back and forth. And I was sitting there saying to myself, I would kind of like to be the guy in the middle of this conversation, because I can see both sides of this argument. I understand where both men are coming from. And I don't think now is the time for either of us to be crucifying the other. I don't think that, the David Hoggs of the world should be crucifying the James Carvilles, and I don't think the James Carvilles should be crucifying the David Hoggs. I think that we should all be working together and putting our heads together and coming up with ways to move forward. And when someone like James Carville says something stupid like roll over and play dead, just call it out as such. And keep moving. But I don't see any reason to crucify that dude or throw stones at him. He was definitely one of the sharpest minds we ever had, and I think there is still something to be learned, even though they sometimes may be out of touch on certain issues or not up to date on certain things. And a lot of times, you got to understand something too. I'm not defending the roll over and play dead comment when I say this, but we all are thinking out loud every day on how we can go about getting better and how we can go about doing better. And there's times where I've said maybe we do this or maybe we do that, and then a couple of days later I'm like, not that. I don't think that'll work. Maybe we have to do something else. So I get it. We're all just trying to make sense of this, but I say to the people on our side, stick together and don't be throwing stones at one another, and hear each other out and realize that at the end of the day, we all have the same core values and principles that we all believe in and stand for, and we should work together and realize that we're up against a man who considers us the enemy from within. So it doesn't matter if you're James Carville or David Hogg or somewhere in the middle. It doesn't matter who you are. Donald Trump thinks we are the enemy and is absolutely ignoring the rule of law completely, and ignoring people like us. So he's also taught his base to ignore people like us and to come after people like us. So we have to stick together. That's the moral of the story as to what I'm trying to say here. And again, I want to thank everyone for tuning in here on this week's episode of the Tennessee Brando Show. Remind everybody, if you're in South Knoxville, I'll be at the Festival this Saturday, 3:30 p.m. I'm looking forward to that, playing some music, getting out of the house and doing something for a change. Also, yes, I am writing over on Substack. I keep doing that, and I'm posting on Blue Sky, trying to do that more often, trying to stay on all the platforms and push it out there as far as I can. So thank you for tuning in, and thank you to the ones that are listening over on Spotify. Also, reminder, right after the show, we're going backstage with Brando over on Patreon. And what I've kind of been steering to my Patreon here lately is a little bit more non-political content. You're never going to be able to do what I do and not talk politics. Politics sometimes comes up right in the middle of a conversation about candy bars, but I've been trying to talk about music and talk about other things and kind of take a break from the politics over there. So if you ever want to try on the Patreon on for size, I understand $1's hard to come by these days. I ain't asking you to blow it, but try it on for size, see what you think of it, and if you like it, stick around. And if at any point you can't, I understand. Either way, I truly appreciate all of your support, and I hope that everyone has a great rest of your day. And real quickly before I go, let me say thank you to Grifflist for gifting 10 Tennessee Brando memberships to Bryant Frankfurt. Is that right? Thank you for that, and I would love to have you speak at an event in Hamlin County. Well, just reach out to me, and we can make that happen. I have been making more speaking engagements. If you go to like the link tree, you can find my emails, and you can find ways to contact me there. So I appreciate that, and I have been making more public appearances. Some people tells me to, look over my shoulder and duck and dodge and be careful, and I do. But I survived playing the dive bars in East Tennessee that really needed chicken wire around them. So I always say if you can survive Jellicoe, Tennessee on a Saturday night, you can survive any jackass around here. So I'm not worried about it. But anyway, I appreciate also Tammy Adams. Thank you for the super sticker, and thank y'all so much for tuning in. I hope everyone has a great rest of your day, rest of your week. I'll keep doing what I do, and thank y'all so much for listening.